It's now 7 p.m. on July 7th, 2021, and this is a new Windsor Town Council meeting. I will remind you that the town meeting is recorded by electronic means and that the meeting will follow an agenda. Anyone who wishes to have a matter placed on the agenda, needed to submit the topic to the mayor in writing by the last Wednesday of the month by the close of the business day, which is 3 p.m. These items will be reviewed for approval. If you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
She needs to come off whoever she is.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we are now moving on to the announcement of policies. Is it new policies? Do we have any new policies?
Actually, sir, I think that refers to what you just did.
Oh, okay.
Our policies, we have an agenda, we record those.
Okay, thank you. Now we have the approval of the minutes for June 2nd, 2021 Town Council meeting. I make a motion to approve those.
I think one of us has to do that.
You guys have to do that? Go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 5-0. All right, we're going to move on to the mayor's report. I have attended multiple different events. June 17th, we attended the MML webinar concerning the coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. I'll update you a little bit on that later. June 19th, I attended Wolfstock with the Carroll County Humane Society. June 25th, I attended an event at Seasons at Magnolia Manor. June 27th through 29th, I attended the MML conference in Ocean City, Maryland, and that's it. We'll move on to the council committees. Community enhancement with Councilwoman Gribben-Lindemann.
Should I unmute at the top?
Nope.
Okay. You guys can hear me? Okay. So I do have a few things to talk about. For number one, you can see on the town park, it's coming along, and phase one is coming along nicely. The fountain has not yet been placed in there, but that's all part of phase one, so I think that's coming down the pike shortly. But they have planted the trees, and the flowers are there. They've put all the path is going around, the grass is growing, it's looking really good, so that's coming along nicely. And they put some stockade fencing along back where the residents live behind the park and that sort of thing. So the town park is coming along really nicely. And one of the other things that I want to talk about tonight are the decorations for the town, specifically like the holiday decorations and the town banners. And we have pretty much 3 different kinds of decorations that we put up throughout the year. The first being the holiday decorations. We have the Hometown Heroes banners that are going up around town. I'm sure you've seen them for people who have served in the military, and they look great, but we will talk about them. And then town banners that can stay up year-round. Some of our banners we put up at certain times and take down at certain times, like, for instance, the Hometown Hero banners. We want them up, through Memorial Day and the 4th of July, and perhaps they'll stay up a little longer. They'll be up in November for Veterans Day and that sort of thing. But then they'll come down, and then the holiday banners, the holiday decor will go up. But we've been putting up wreaths for many, many years in the town for the holidays, and the wreaths are really shot. There's not that, they actually had, one was causing an electrical fire and that sort of thing. They have like 60 years on them, and they're just kind of at the end of their longevity. So I have been in touch with a company called Display Sales, and they have a whole variety of decor that we could put up. Andrew, is there any way that you can...
Popped a couple of them up there already, yeah.
Oh, you have. Can
Yes.
you put them back up for just a minute, and I can talk about
decorations?
them? Yes, the decorations.
Yep.
We were thinking that we've had wreaths for a long time, and that snowflakes might be nice to put up there. And we could even do something where we would put like maybe 5 snowflakes and then 1 candy cane, and then 5 snowflakes, then maybe an angel, or there's all different kinds of pieces that can be put up. So that is sideways. You get the kind of idea there. You can see that down in the right-hand corner is a Christmas tree. Then there's a snowman, a stocking. Kind of gives you the idea. And these are all lights without any garland around them. The cost on these, I was talking to him, and the cost for 1 snowflake is about close to $400. And each one of these pieces here is close to, well, a little bit over 400, around 400 or just a little bit more. We have a budget that I understand our budget is about $25,000 for the Christmas decor, and that's one of the things I feel like we need to decide on, if that is a good budget. The gentleman did give me a rough estimate on what just the Christmas decorations would cost, and it would be close to like $20,000, and that doesn't include the shipping, and that's from this company. So, and I wonder if we can get to the snowflakes. Can you put the snowflakes up? Yeah.
Councilwoman Lindeman, does that include the brackets, or is that just the decorations?
I'm not exactly positive on that, so that is something I will have to follow through on. We did talk a little bit about the brackets, but I will have to double check on that. But the snowflake that I was kind of thinking of is the one in the middle row, the one on the right. And we were looking at what the size of the wreaths and the size of the different banners and things. And we were kind of thinking that the 5-foot wreath, the 5-foot snowflake would look nice, and then that would complement well with any of the other decorations that we wanted to go with that. If we wanted to do like a pattern with, like 4 or 5 snowflakes and then a candle or whatever. So those are some of the options that we have concerning the Christmas decorations. I can just move on really quickly to the Hometown Heroes. And, these are banners that residents have been purchasing themselves, and they are not in good shape. We've only had these for 3 years tops, and this one's not as bad as the other one. Some of these are in pretty sorry shape, and the company display sales, like, look at this. This is, they're coming apart, and they're just not doing well on the signposts. So we wanted to get a better quality banner. And we were talking about putting, having banners that had the slits in them for the wind. And when I talked to this gentleman, he said that their experiences were that the slits made it tear even more. But he is going to send me a swatch of their fabric. And he said, like, this is one piece of fabric, and theirs is supposed to be double fabric, and it's double stitched, all the way, quadruple stitched, all the way around. It's 2 pieces of fabric, and, of course, the images on both sides. So I think it's going to be a higher quality than what we have, but we'll certainly know once we get the actual fabric to look at. So, but people have already purchased these banners that we have up around town now, and a lot of them are not in such great shape. And we were thinking that perhaps we should be able to, the town should maybe foot the bill for getting these banners remade, and that going forward from this point on, residents would then be able to purchase the higher quality banner for the poles for their hometown hero. So that's another issue that we're talking about with the banners. And then the final issue for banners are banners pretty much about the same size, but that could be up there more, perhaps all year round, because we could put more than one banner on a pole. We could put a town banner on the pole on one side, and then that could stay up there all year round. And we have, apparently in the past, the council has approved the design of the fountain that we are going to be putting in the park up here, because that is kind of our town logo. So we have the option of maybe using that same logo for our banners, or if we wanted to do something that was a little bit more inclusive of the 4 seasons, that could stay up all year round and have all 4 seasons on the banner, or something along those that nature, we could do that too. And so if we put that on one side of the banner, we could put the Hometown Heroes on the other side of the banner. And for the crew that's putting them up, they don't have to take down banners. They just, all the time, they're not always taking down and putting up two sets of banners. So they can leave the one set up and then just put up these and take them down as needed. And then they will all come down, I believe, when the Christmas decorations go up. So those are the three issues that I'm dealing with as far as the town beautification. I think what I need to know is, are we okay with the budget that we have of $25,000? And that's not going to probably cover anything with the Hometown Heroes replacing the banners that are damaged or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure where to proceed from there.
The $25,000 was just going to cover the Christmas lights alone?
Yep,
How many of them was it?
45.
It's 45?
And that gives us like 2 or 3 spares because, things do happen and you need to have a few extra. So I think right now, throughout the town, 42 wreaths have been tried to be put up, but, as they've kind of fizzled out, we've got a few less than that. And in talking to Wayne today, he was saying that, gosh, really, very few of them are in great shape at all.
Gary, do you remember, did we come up with that budget because, or maybe Wayne remembers, because we knew that the old Christmas decorations were falling apart?
Yes.
Do you remember do you remember anything about where we determined that amount? Did we do some research?
We just did some basic research as to what was out there, pretty much along the lines of what Sharon did, and took the number of banners times an estimated cost.
Okay.
And that is for the approved budget. This started July 1.
Right,
Through
right.
June 30th of next year.
Right. Yeah, okay.
So then that is the approved budget that we're going to use for that?
That's the approved budget that was adopted and went into effect July 1,
Okay.
fiscal year.
And how old are the ones, Wayne, or you the one, you know how old they are? What?
Christmas decorations?
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, Kim,
Yeah, Wayne.
Councilwoman Schultz, I would say that the lights, the wreaths are at least 12 to 15 years old, at least. We could research that. They've been here as long as I've been here, and they were already kind of refurbished once. So just to be safe, I would say just say 15 years.
Town Hero banners, how much are those individually?
Let's see, I wrote that down. Hometown Hero banners, if we get 2 feet by 3 feet, they're $67 each.
And how many do we fly? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
How many do we fly?
I'm not sure how many are up right now. Do you know, Wayne, how many Hometown Hero banners we have right now?
I would say we probably have at least 40 or more. There's quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Probably not all of them are in this bad of a shape, but I think if we're getting new ones, we should probably have them all that match.
But you would use the same design, you're just talking about perhaps a different and better
Right, they would look the
yeah.
same, but just be made by a different company with a better quality material.
And what about those existing brackets? Do they have to be replaced as well with the Hometown Hero banner?
I don't think they have to. He was asking me about the brackets, whether how long they had been up, and I really didn't know that information at that time. So I'm still kind of going back and forth with him on that, and I can find that information out.
And that's with the upgraded material?
Yes.
Okay. So it's roughly another, sorry, go ahead.
So most of the brackets are in good shape. We order spares because occasionally a box truck or a tractor trailer will hit them. But most of the brackets are intact, and so it would be just the expense of the banners. I know the original banners cost the residents around $100 a piece. So worst case scenario, the town would probably have to pay $75 a piece to replace those banners, and we could use the existing brackets.
Sounds, Sharon, like we need to find out if the new holiday decorations, if that cost includes the brackets.
Right, I will find that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that includes brackets, to tell you the truth. But I will
have a
check.
question regarding the lights.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Could you state your name and address, please? Are we going to wait till the end for
My
that?
name is.
Would you wait till the end of the meeting, please, for the residents' concerns?
No, she's just asking
Sure.
a question.
Oh,
It's up to you.
yeah, we can wait till the end.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So, with the Christmas lights, the only question I had was, is there any other companies that you know of that maybe we can compare prices with, or?
Well, I think we got a better price from him than what we got on these banners originally from a company called Shannon Bombs, because we were talking with Kalina and Donna today, and Kalina said that was the company they used before. But I can research another company if you'd like a third.
I was specifically talking about the Christmas lights, the decorations, the snowflakes. If there was a
Right.
different company,
I can research
I
another
would
one.
recommend Riley's Outdoor.
Okay.
Contact them because we've used them in the past.
at
Okay.
least get a
To-
couple
for
prices.
comparison, yes.
Well, the other thing is too, we do want to think about it like in the near future, because we want to get an order in for this year, I mean, we should put in an order by like, at the latest, August, I would say, the end of August.
Sharon, when you're checking with these vendors and on cost, check with on supply and turnaround, because everything we're ordering these days is backlogged due to COVID.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the sooner the better, But I will check into Riley's and get back to you on that.
Maybe you just could have that information by the work session, that would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kalina can provide you with the contact at Riley's Outdoor.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we're going to Public Works with Councilman Hoffman.
Good evening, everyone. The Public Works Department has been battling the heat and continuing to doing their mowing, weeding, trimming, and landscaping. You may have also seen them out and about town filling potholes as well, so they've been taking care of those as they pop up. They've been actively working on some stormwater areas which needed attention, and they are maintaining the new park at 201 Street, which Councilman Lindeman talked about earlier. So we're responsible for that park, so they're doing daily watering of the new plants that have been put in up there as well. Wanted to bring everyone's attention that due to the new trash recycle pickup dates being on Wednesday, yard waste is going to move. The pickup will now be on the first and third Tuesday of the month. So please mark your calendars for that, first and third Tuesdays of the month. And the planning committee did meet in June. However, we did not have a quorum due to a couple of the members being out unexpectedly. So we were not able to swear in Dave Grayson onto the committee because we didn't have the quorum, but we'll take care of that at the next meeting as well.
That'll be tonight.
No, that's the fourth Monday of the month.
He used to be sworn in tonight.
We usually,
It's on the agenda, yeah. Let me see.
I believe you.
Okay. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it.
There was apparently some confusion there, Mr. Hoffman. Perhaps we can have Mr. Grayson come to the work session, because upon further checking, the charter provides that the mayor swears in everyone, council, and all appointees.
Thank you.
So let's just get him here. Corral him and get him. Is he here?
Yes, he's here.
Oh. Well then.
He's corralled.
We're all set.
Consider yourself corralled. So when that's appropriate, he can be done.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, if I can jump in here for a sec, should the chairman of the planning commission be here?
He
does
knows,
not
he knows that we were swearing him in, but
Okay,
it's not
okay,
necessary.
that's fine. I just don't want to delay it. Just want to make
Right.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Water and Sewer with Councilman Holt.
All right, so as Gary pointed out earlier, everything is backed up due to COVID. So the pedestal tank repairs are taking longer than anticipated because we can't get the supplies in. As soon as they come in, the repairs will be done, and we can get that pedestal tank up and running again. So later, we're going to talk about SCADA system upgrades. Public Works Director Wayne will talk about that in a little bit. Basically, we're going to probably be looking at some repairs to some SCADA systems that are non-functioning right now. In other news, same with the water, the radio read meters, where the truck can actually drive by instead of having to physically touch the water meter. Those upgrades are still planned, just waiting on the supplies. So this month we had 2 water main leaks on Hillside Avenue. One was a fire hydrant and the second was the water service line. Both of those have been repaired. So I guess we'll wait till talk about the SCADA in a bit. And in other news too as well, I've been looking at putting together recommendations for water projects going forward. We have quite a few water repairs that are needing to be done in the next few years. So I'm going to be compiling a list, prioritizing that so we can stay within our current budget while still getting the repairs done. So I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to public safety with Councilman Cornick.
Good evening, everyone. The bulk of my report will be, I'm going to defer to Deputy Kaluzi on some of the items that he has for the community, but I will say I have received a couple emails from people regarding a topic that everybody's been talking about, at least in our community, and that's the speed in the community. And I mentioned before in the work session that we're going to look at ways to try to mitigate the speed issue, and especially on High Street, and I've been paying specific attention to it, and we have an issue and potential issues for our citizens in the community. So one of the things, I did have a chance to talk to Deputy Kaluzi, and one of the things I'd like to propose when we can get the funds for it is to provide additional speed monitoring signs that typically what we've seen in our community. Ideally, it'd be nice to, we have one, and I think Deputy Kaluzi moves that around, and I think many of you have probably seen it, but we certainly, in my opinion, need more than that. And it is a little bit of an output and money, but, I don't want to spend the money from the COVID relief, but if we can find a way to utilize that in terms of public safety, I certainly think we need to do that. Obviously, there are other items that, like I said, I'll defer to Deputy Kaluzi about, but I've been working on that, and I've talked to a couple citizens that have concerns about it, who have children that obviously want to maintain safety and for their kids and for the rest of us, frankly, especially with the traffic. I see a lot of rolling stops and through intersections that could be dangerous. So I know it's not a huge item, but I'm working on that and looking into some other things. So that's my report.
Deputy Kaluzi, would you like to come forward?
Well, he's coming.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to add part to his or not. Okay, we'll move on. Economic Development with Councilwoman Schultz.
Good evening, everyone. Since we have such a great crowd, I'm going to invite all of you to, if you're not already doing so, to support our local businesses. And as most of you know, we have several eateries in town. We have a couple of stores. We have a couple of auto repair places. We have a bed and breakfast. We have some small businesses that you might not even know about. If you do a little research, you'll probably find out about them. So, most of them suffered through COVID, and they need our support in this community. So just invite you all to do that. On that same topic, I represent New Windsor on a group called the Carroll County Economic Development Group, and they have not been meeting because of COVID. I did see that they met. Unfortunately, I was on vacation when they did, so I will be joining them next time, and we'll have an update on what kind of activities they have planned. Some of you may remember we've done a Christmas passport to encourage people to shop small in the beginning of December, so I'm hoping that that's on their agenda, and many of our local businesses were included in that. And if you know of one that wasn't, you can reach out to me and we can talk about that. Kind of a little bit community enhancement, a little bit economic development is our Music on the Main event, which is coming up on October
2nd.
October 2nd. And that committee is meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here, so if anybody's interested, join us. Let's see what else. And I do believe that the Economic Development Group had a table at the Maryland Municipal League. I don't know if the mayor or Councilman Hull happened to visit the the avenue and see that.
Yeah.
But they were promoting businesses in Carroll County. So that's my report.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Town Manager Gary Dye.
Okay, as already mentioned, the Hillside Drive water leaks. I won't go into any further detail. We had 2 leaks, one at the hydrant that was repaired on July 30th, and then one at the water connection lateral was fixed today. The code enforcement officer position, Donna Bill Schneeman, who's our zoning administrator, and myself interviewed the one applicant we received on June 15th. Nicole Felder interviewed very well. She has over 25 years of law enforcement experience and retired from Baltimore City Police Department. She currently is a part-time driver's ed instructor and lives in Hampstead. So the town manager prepared reference check letters and contacted the 3 references that Nicole provided and emailed the letters to each reference. My experience with hiring and checking references is to let the reference answer the questions directly and then email those back to me. There's more transparency that way, so that's what I did. All the references were very good. Donna, Bill, and I agreed Nicole would be a good fit, and on June 29th, I offered the position to Nicole Felder, and she accepted, and Donna emailed a welcome letter and employment package to Nicole, and her scheduled start date is July 14th. The reviewing and signing of the town bills during town manager's absence. As I mentioned before, I'm going out for surgery, and Mayor Green and Councilwoman Schultz, as vice president, have authority to approve and sign bills in my absence. Bills will need to be reviewed and approved twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it would be best that either Mayor Green or Councilwoman Schultz handle this duty in my absence versus splitting it up. So you can just let us know here in the next couple days and let Donna and I know, please. Okay. Lastly on my report is Dealman Inn plan moving forward. Former Mayor Neil Rupp was in charge and leading the way on the Dealman Inn since the town purchased the property in 2011. The current mayor and council need to decide what their vision and plan is for the Dealman Inn and who is taking the lead moving forward. In June of 2019, an application was submitted to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. It's DHCD acronym, and also the Strategic Demolition Fund program for a multi-phase foundation restoration project for the Dealman Inn. Currently, Phase 1 is a $350,000 grant for part of the foundation restoration from DHCD. Lewis Contractors is overseeing Phase 1 and worked with their structural engineer subconsultant to prepare the plans. Lewis Contractors will then use the plans to solicit bids from contractors to do the foundation restoration work in Phase 1. Submittal or reapplication for Phase 2 would be the next step. Not applying for Phase 2 would not look good in the eyes of Department of Housing and Community Development and may hinder future grant applications either for Dealman or other projects because the state has already invested in Phase 1 grant of $351,000. However, that decision and direction falls to the current mayor and council. The deadline for FY22 applications happens to be tomorrow at 3 p.m. The application for Phase 2 was created in October of 2020, and then Mike Reynolds tried to update that application today but wasn't able to do so. However, he did spend most of the day today recreating that application for fiscal year 22. So he did get that finished, and it would be possible to submit that application tomorrow by 3. I just have to let Mike know if that's the direction you all want to head.
Do you know how much that grant is for?
It's for approximately, I don't know the number off the top of my head, it's about about 425, 430,000. The overall change, updating cost and rearranging things from the original application didn't change. The total was about 850, so it's a difference of about 850 from 350, so it's a little higher than that actually. So.
And is that a 10% us kind of thing?
There's contribution on the town part, which the purchase property, the purchase cost of the property of $174,500 was part of that, and then there's $10,000 in kind administrative services, which we keep track of our time, which is standard on grants, and then I believe it was a $6,000 engineering fee that was already paid prior to that. So that's all part of that fee, the town's fee. So if you all want to move forward with that next application, then I think we need to take a vote and do so.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the application.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 5-0.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Public Works Director Wayne Myers.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Still there?
I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the SCADA system and the potential upgrade. The SCADA system was originally installed in 2012, and the original cost was $58,000. And then in 2016, an additional $47,000 expense was paid for to add components at the railroad towers, like where the pedestal tank and the standpipes at. The SCADA system controls pumps, monitors levels, records data, simplifies troubleshooting, and is the direct communication device for emergency communication. So it's a very important piece of equipment for Public Works and Maryland Environmental Service, who does our data retrieval for all our water and sewer sites. It's reasons to replace or upgrade. It is primarily dated technology with obsolete parts. We're having issues getting some parts whenever we have problems, and some of the components are no longer serviceable, or they don't match up to some of the newer technology. It's in constant need of repair. Specifically in the last 2 years, it's been fairly problematic and a little bit unreliable. And that's not a good thing, considering whenever we get an alarm, sometimes we don't receive calls because the communication device, the modem, doesn't work. An upgrade would not only fix the current problems, but it would prevent future ones. With the manufacturing industry struggling, building materials and components take a long time to get in. This is something that we should consider thinking about. Once I get some prices from another vendor, maybe we could talk about it a little bit more. It's a specialty line of work, so there's very few vendors that do it. And we do have a vendor in town that we use in emergency situations that I have a price from already, but we're still waiting from a Control 21 to do another site visit. I know recently in the last work session meeting, Councilman Paul was concerned that, maybe when we upgrade, we need to change some of the security parameters to make the system a little bit more secure. He is in this line of work and understands it quite a bit, probably a little bit more than I do as far as the security. So I'm going to be relying on him to help me figure out what kind of security parameters that we would like on our SCADA system, just because it is important function of the town, and that I too agree that security is very important in times now with everybody being so tech savvy. So that's all I have, and I'll update everybody, and feel free to ask any questions. I'll try to do my best with the information I have.
And Wayne, so with things like today's power outage, does that affect the SCADA systems with alarms and such?
It does. So there's like redundant power systems for the data system. and they currently are functioning properly. Today was proof of that we managed to get through everything without a hiccup. But I know in the past, depending on the severity of the power issue, we did run into some issues where we weren't called. And fortunately, I have access to everything on my laptop, and I check it, frequently, just as kind of a fail-safe. And specifically when I know I have issues with the SCADA system, and we're able to catch things before we're in critical mode. So it is definitely beneficial. I'd also like to add that during the pedestal tank repairs, we had some issues with the transducers, and the transducers, they monitor the water levels of the tower. And I had to climb the tower and look down in the tank, and I was able to remotely control the pumps to adjust the levels to just below the leak. So we were able to operate until we took that tank out of service. So it's really handy. It's a very important piece of technology that the town utilizes, and I can honestly say that I use the SCADA system on a daily basis for a multitude of different things. It does data recording. It's just an amazing piece of equipment, and when there's issues with it, you can definitely tell.
Yes, certainly. And the one other thing is, when I was at the conference, I had the honor to talk to the department head of the Maryland Department of MDE, Maryland Department of the Environment. So they actually informed me that they will help small communities like us negotiate better prices for SCADA systems. So it might be beneficial to just reach out to them too and get an email and see if maybe they have a good vendor that they can get us a third price from too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we deal with several different companies, and they all specialize in different things. And we belong, and it's Maryland Rural Water Association, and they have some good literature, some good assistance, and they've been very helpful to the town, as well as contacting other municipalities. So it's a pretty tight-knit group. So for the most part, the prices are pretty transparent. MDE has been great to work with. They really help us out a lot, even in grant funding and information. And I'm in contact with MDE quite a bit, probably twice a month. Once every 2 months, rather. And anyway, yeah. But I can reach out to my contact there, and we can see if they might know another person that we could get a price off of.
Yeah, and I can get, because I actually have the email for the director, and he said email him anytime. So
Okay.
I'll
Awesome.
get it to you.
Very cool.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Community Deputy Kaluzi's report.
Good evening, everybody. The Sheriff's Office, between the dates of June 1st to June 30th, responded to 59 calls for service within the town limits. Out of those 59 calls, 5 required reports, which were the following. On June 3rd, at approximately 11:22 p.m., deputies were conducting traffic enforcement around the 2800 block of New Windsor Road. At that time, a vehicle stop was conducted for a traffic infraction. Upon contact with the driver, it was learned that the driver's driving privilege was currently suspended in Maryland. The driver was released on citations. Case goes by arrest. On June 4th, at approximately 1:29 a.m., deputies, while conducting traffic enforcement around the 2800 block of New Windsor Road, stopped the vehicle for a traffic infraction. Upon contact with the driver, signs of impairment were detected on the driver. The driver agreed to submit to the standardized ghost sobriety test, which they failed. Subject was taken into custody for suspicion of driving under the influence of alcohol. The driver agreed to submit to a breath test, which resulted in 0.14 grams of alcohol per 210 liters of breath. Subject was released on citations. Case was closed by arrest. On June 12th at approximately 10:03 a.m., deputies responded to the 400 block of Church Street in reference to a fraud. Investigation revealed that unknown suspects utilized the victim's credit card to purchase several items online. The case remains open. On June 12th, at approximately 7:03 p.m., deputies, while on routine patrol, observed a property damage motor vehicle accident. Upon contacting the driver, signs of impairment were detected. The driver agreed to submit to a standardized field sobriety test, which the driver failed. The driver refused to submit to a breath sample and was released on citations. The case was closed by arrest. On June 18th, at approximately 1:29 p.m., deputies responded to the 2800 block of New Windsor Road regarding an assault. Investigation revealed that unknown parties engaged in a mutual assault where pepper spray was sprayed. All subjects were identified and charges were filed regarding the incident. The case is closed by arrest. All participants mentioned above.
Sorry, could you speak into his microphone, please? They're having trouble hearing you on Zoom. Thank you.
All participants mentioned above are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And other notes, National Night Out is scheduled for Tuesday, August 3rd from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Carnival grounds, so please come out and support the event. That's all I have.
Thank you. Then we're moving on to the West Carroll Rec Council.
Well, as a member of the West Carroll Rec Council, I'll speak for them. We did participate in the new Carnival nights with the funnel cake stand, and we actually had, in spite of the weather, we had really good nights, and actually it was fun making funnel cakes, or at least watching other people make funnel cakes. And I will mention Deputy Kaluzi. I think I have a positive that will participate. The Rec Council will on the National Night Out. And then, as always, there's a search for facilities to use. Things are opening back up, so I do believe that we're going to be able to use indoor facilities. I did get notice of that for basketball and indoor events. So there's some positive things happening there, but that's my unofficial report for the Rec Council.
Okay, thank you. Fire Chief Walker.
Good evening. Calls for the month of June, 29 fire calls, 82 EMS calls. Year to date puts us at 165 fire calls and 417 EMS calls. We'd like to thank everyone for their support for our summer celebration. The community is important to us, and we, in our existence, and we value that support. Also, a quick reminder, tonight was Food Truck Wednesday. We had 4 food trucks. We didn't have a sweet truck this time. 2 weeks, look for the next round of food trucks. Also, keep an eye out for our other fundraisers coming up. We're going to have a crab feed in September, so keep an eye out for that. Also, we're putting a boat in the flood zone boat contest. I forget what the exact name of it is, but that's the weekend of the 18th of July. So please come out and support that at the flood zone. We're having some fundraisers down at Frankie's to gather support for the boat. We've also had multiple businesses have signed on as sponsors. So the other little message I have, school's out. So watch out for children when you're driving. Goes along with what Councilman Cornick said about watching your speed through town. The kids are out playing, so let's keep an eye out for them and watch so we don't run into any of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Donna Albin.
I have nothing to report tonight. I sent an email out earlier today that the final budget items are still coming in for fiscal year 21, so it's not uncommon this time of year for things to kind of trickle in, so I'd rather just give you a final report when I have all the data.
Thank you. Water and Sewer Billing Clerk Kalina. See you on?
Hello, everybody.
Hey. Yep.
Okay. So water bills were mailed out Friday, July 2nd. If you have not received it, please call me at the town office and I can either mail you a copy or email you a copy. If you have any questions regarding your bill, please contact me at the office via phone or email. I'll be more than happy to assist you in any way I can. And I just want to do a friendly reminder, social media is not the place to conduct town business. If you have any issues, especially with bills, please call me directly. I will be more than willing to help you. That's it.
No? Okay. We're going to move on to new business then. We have appointee Planning Commission, Dave Grayson. If you could come up here, please. Would you like to do it since you're their liaison? Does it gotta be done like
You can do it. I can't read that well.
Come on up here.
Watch the flag.
Watch the flag. I'm gonna get you in the head.
No, I got it. There you go.
You can come around this side if you wish. Oh, you got it? Okay, go ahead. Please, go ahead. Raise your hand. There you go. Just read it.
Just read it, okay. I do swear that I will, or affirm as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland, town of New Windsor, that support the Constitution and any laws thereof, and I will, to the best of my skill and judgment, diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of Planning Commission member according to the Constitution and laws of state.
Congratulations. Thank you. You're up here. I'm just going to put the date down. I got you. What is it? 7. Thank you.
Witnesses?
Yep, thank you.
Dave, thanks for stepping up.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Now we have the Lions Cub baseball field draft license agreement with Gary Dye.
Okay, I prepared a draft license agreement between the town and Reaper Sports Inc. Baseball Club. Agreement was sent to town attorney and restrainer for review and comment, and sent to the mayor and council on June 30th for your review and discussion tonight, or any questions, or hopefully you have time to look at that. Anybody have any comments or questions on what I sent you all?
So the only question I have is to Councilman Cornick. With the rec council, I don't know if you were able to talk to them, maybe if they had any need or desire to use that facility, or if that was even brought up.
Well, I'm sure they will, but there are some things that need to happen prior to them actually doing the use of facilities for them. Essentially, we don't have, I say we, the Rec Council, West Carroll Rec Council doesn't have a baseball program anymore. Okay. So they need to establish or reestablish a baseball program before we even get to that point.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not limiting the Rec Council if they were ready.
I think, I don't think that this agreement actually prohibits other, groups from using it. Is that right?
No, this agreement gives the Reapers Baseball Club sole use of it.
So, okay. I mean,
The town can use it upon request, obviously,
Right.
but in the agreement is set up for 1 year.
Right.
1 year, and then each year then we'll reevaluate and we can renew yearly. It's not a long-term agreement, it's a yearly agreement.
right, which I'm in favor of. I mean, what other way, there's really no other way to do it. I mean, if you did a long 10-year term, and I did take that into consideration, but, I mean, at this point, the Rec Council doesn't have a baseball program, so, once we do that, then we'll have to move from there.
Any other questions or comments?
Anyone wants to add anything to that? Is it good enough? Is it, how do you feel about it, in your opinion?
No, I
Is this
think
good?
it's fine. I do
Okay.
think it would be prudent to have a vote on it.
Okay. Do you have a motion to vote?
I'll make a motion that we vote on that.
Yeah, I would just say a motion to enter into a license agreement with Reapers Baseball.
I make a motion to enter into a licensed agreement with Reapers for the baseball field.
I'll second that.
They came on mute.
Very sure about it.
In touch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 5-0. Now we're going to move on to the language for planning commission appointments with Ms. Ostrander.
And not that much to take. When we were discussing filling the appointments, that's true, I'm sorry. I don't have it. When we were discussing filling vacancies, there's a lot of unanswered items. Our code and the state code don't have a lot of specificity in that. So it was suggested that maybe we would want some. So what I drafted, and it is purely a draft, is to require planning commission members to live, my draft said, within the growth area boundary as defined by our master plan. That way, if you've got somebody who is interested in town but happens to live on the other side of the street from town, that person would still be eligible so long as he's in that. And it's a defined area, so you don't have a nebulous situation. Frankly, I don't have it all with me, so let me look at quick what I said. Yeah, so that would change. The councilman serving in an ex officio capacity is the same. One of the concerns that I believe Councilman Hoffman mentioned was the ability of the commission to bring other people in for specific or limited expertise. And so I think that's a good idea to make sure it's clear that those people would not necessarily have to be a commission member, a voting member of the commission. So if you had somebody who had a particular expertise in an area, a topic that you wanted to discuss, but that person resided in Westminster or Worcester County for that matter, you could bring them in for that limited purpose and appoint them for that. And I specifically said that they wouldn't have a vote. And that, again, is just my draft. One thing we haven't really done too much of in the past is formal solicitation of candidates, so I included that in there, as the mayor and council can solicit, and then the same language the mayor would recommend to the council, and the council would approve or reject. That last part about the mayor submitting and the council approving is in the state law, so I think we need to continue to follow that pattern. So I really only added a few sentences, but I think it might give a little more guidance to anybody else looking to see if they might be interested in being on the commission as well. And if there's sentiment to go ahead with that requires an ordinance to amend. So that's not before you today, but what's before you today is just some thoughts I had for you guys to talk about.
Everyone got it and read it?
So you would draft the new ordinance for us to look at the next work session?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
maybe the next
work session?
2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to be out of town for about 5 days in there, so how about, the one after that?
Okay.
All right.
August
Or even the August work session. I don't think there's a big.
So, Michelle, I appreciated the words. I like the fact that you grabbed the growth area boundary and stuck that in there. I thought that was a good way to address the concerns of people being close that may have vested interest in that. I was fine with the words for this. Since we have to do an ordinance, is there other areas in our code where these same types of words would be applicable that we would want to maybe include it in one fell swoop as opposed to have to doing it, something like maybe BZA in that section where we're
I can't answer that, Mr. Hoffman, sitting here. I didn't really review the other sections. There's always, as you well know, always something in the code that can be changed, and actually we've been working in-house on some charter updates for a while. But I will look at the other areas that are specific to this topic, and if anything else I think needs to be included, either included in that ordinance or, depending on where it is in the code, a separate ordinance done for it, because you can't lump everything all in one. and let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the possible uses for the building next door. This is 211 High Street, Old Town Hall. I would like to entertain, ideas on what you guys feel we should be doing with that building.
So first, I would say we also need to look at the required repairs before we look at the uses as well.
Again, this is part of it, yeah.
Yeah, just because there is some major repairs that need to be done to that facility, and that's one of the reasons why we moved over to this building. So before we can, obviously it's always great to have ideas, but I think before we are able to sit there and say we're putting this out to lease for any use, we would have to make those repairs first. So I think the first step, we would have to find out how much repairs are needed and the cost of that, and if we can work that into some sort of grant or something. Or if you guys feel that selling it's a better option, that's always an option too.
Because we don't, if we decided to sell it, we could sell it as is, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up to a point. Up to a point.
Up to a point.
Well, there are a handful of small things that are problematic when you go to sell property, unless you found someone who's willing to buy it for cash. Because when you're financing property, that's where you can list a property. I always forget. As is, all you want. But if the lender says as is not, that's why because the lawyer has to be neurotic. So I threw that in there.
I assume raising the building is not off the table as well.
You're the table.
Anything's on the table now.
So it's on the table.
You guys are the table.
Again, with that, I'll add in, there'll be significant costs.
Costs, yes, yes.
It sounds like a very simple, easy, quick solution, but it's a very...
No, what is it? What do you mean by raising the building?
Tearing it down.
Oh, okay.
Tearing it down. So we have a building that has very little parking. So it has several strikes against it. Although, I appreciate the history of the building and the facade of the building. Would like to see saved somehow, but the total square footage of that building and the amount of repairs that as Councilman Hall brought up, could be prohibitive to do anything other than that. And I just want to, not sure that I'm an advocate for tearing it down, but I just want to throw that out there that could be an option as well.
Another thing I'll just throw out along the lines of the parking, that parcel of land for that building is that building, period. That property, that lane that comes back around and the parking that is back there is part of this property. So any kind of improvements and agreements and sales would have to work out an arrangement between whoever would buy it in the town to park back there. Because that parking is this property here. So the building itself is the property. Plain and simple.
All right.
I have a question. Have we done an assessment for the condition of the building? I know that that's what Councilman Hall is recommending, but not even initially have we done an assessment? No.
We did, I wouldn't call it an assessment, but a few years ago, we looked at a lot of things that needed to be done, and that was when we started thinking about, the space wasn't adequate anyways. But I remember, do you remember, Donna? There was quite a few, the wall was leaking, and...
Is Public Works Director Meyer still on?
Is Wayne still here?
Yeah, I'm here. So the roof leaks.
Whoa, wait.
There's a bee's nest in there that's pretty large. The building has numerous plumbing and electrical issues. The pipes freeze. The electrical wiring is just a nightmare. If we decided to rent it out, it would cost an extremely large amount of money to refurbish it, to bring it up to code, to be able to even rent it. And you'd only be able to rent the lower portion of it because the upper portion's not handicap accessible. The other issue that we face The Memorial Park electric service runs through that building, in addition to the Christmas light circuit on the east end of town there. So we would have to figure out what we would do with the electric service there. So it'd be quite a lot of work and quite a lot of money, no matter which direction we would head.
Public Works, Myers, Director Myers, wasn't there an issue with the brick repointing upstairs?
Yes, and the mortar and the brick, specifically 3 to 4 foot below the roof line, would all need repointed up. I mean, the building needs a significant amount of work. Just throwing a number out here, I think we may have gotten an estimate to do some interior repairs at one point in time, not including the roof repairs or anything like that. But we could easily, dump $60,000, $70,000 into that building to get it up to par. And to demolish the building, we're looking at $40,000 or $50,000. So comparison is pretty close. And there's limited parking, like Town Manager Guy had mentioned. We'd have to make an agreement with whomever we sold it to or whomever we rented it to utilize that rear parking behind the new town hall building, which would also limit our capabilities to have additional parking spaces for our new building as well.
So it sounds like the idea or the suggestion of raising the building might sound really feasible and economical.
Until you figure out how to
Not trying to push anybody in one direction, but maybe there's a benefit, that we can enhance the memorial plot next to it, and also provide parking. That's just an idea, but I mean, it just sounds like our initial investment into it. If we take the 70,000 as just a rough estimate, it sounds like it could grow.
Well, that's without the roof and all that, which could easily double that. Easily 80 to 90, maybe possibly 100,000 before we'd even see any kind of benefit to the town, when we certainly could use some more parking.
And what are we going to sell it for? How much is it worth? You're going to throw $100,000 at it, then you're going to sell it for what?
The land is probably the value.
Yeah.
Well, it's valuable to us because we could use some more parking in town, but obviously we need to get some real prices here before we can discuss this some more.
Right, I would think we need some estimates on it. I'd really like to see estimates, because it is a really neat piece of architecture, too. And, that's why a lot of us are in New Windsor, because we love the architecture here. So there's that aspect of it as well. So I think we need to really kind of see what everything's going to cost so that we can really weigh the options a little more efficiently.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you got some work to do, Wayne.
So at the direction of the council, we could possibly maybe bring in some kind of a real estate appraiser, get an appraisal on the building at its current value, maybe talk to some construction companies and get the ball moving on what it would cost to refurbish and redo some things. We have several that we've used in the past, specifically, like with the electrical, Rodkey Electric, they could tell us how much it would cost to update the electric and or move it to the new building, so we wouldn't have any issues with the Christmas light circuit or the Memorial Park circuit. But we would need some kind of a sense of direction to be able to move forward with anything. The building's kind of just sitting there vacant. I know Deputy Kaluzi utilizes some space in the building. I'm not sure if he'd like an office there or what we could do with the space.
I think that's a good idea. We'll have a town. We'll give you your own private office.
I was going to say, I think we have room for him over here, probably.
On a serious note, if we do consider, and I hate to belabor this point, but if we consider tenants in that place, will we be somewhat limited in our, the occupant or the tenant of that place? I mean, would we I mean, or would it be open to anything that was zoned there? I mean, this is our town hall, so obviously we would probably be somewhat selective on who we would have as a neighbor next door, and how much control of that would we have? I think that is something we should probably consider, but I don't know that you can really, how do you?
Well, just to add on to that too, we would also then be liable for that property.
We're
Yeah.
liable for it now.
Oh, yeah, but like, if we
You're
would
more
rent it
liable
out,
if
then-
there's folks wandering around inside.
Yeah, but I mean,
And that would all probably fall under some type of lease agreement, right?
Here's the lawyer answer, sorry.
Right.
Depends.
Right.
yeah.
So it also, since we're thinking about it, maybe thinking a little bit outside of the box at the whole piece of property down that way, including the Memorial Park. There could be an opportunity to move Memorial Park right next to Town Hall here, raise that Town Hall, and do something with the additional piece of property there, whether it was to sell or to make parking or to do something different. So I think it's an opportunity to have an open look at this. And doing something like moving the Memorial Park may allow us to do something like keeping part of the facade of the old building around the Memorial Park or something, or use those blocks from that for something in there. Just throwing it out there if we're thinking about
And
something outside.
the property line issue should not be controlling.
Right.
Because you own both those parcels. You own this one, you own that one.
Yes.
So it's fairly easy, not free, but fairly easy to reconfigure those lot lines to either have it as one large lot or to just have two differently shaped lots. And it's yet another interesting aspect of the project, but it's not anything that would be prohibitive.
Kevin, to your point, in terms of use, it would be governed by the zoning, which is village district.
Village center, right.
Follow those same zoning regulations.
So what do you need from us, Director Myers? Is he still there?
He wants to get it appraised.
Yeah, I'm here. Just tell me what you guys want to do. If you want us to start looking into what it would cost to rehab the building, or whether you want to know what it would cost to tear it down, or what have you, and we'll get hard at work and try to figure something out.
Well, I think we need estimates for all of the above.
The appraisal first, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with that.
Would you like to start with the appraisal?
No, an appraisal's a waste of money at
No.
this point.
Yeah.
Michelle, say that.
Candidly, I think an appraisal's a waste of money at this point.
To just get some cost for tear down.
Because
cost for
it
repair.
almost doesn't matter what the property is worth now, because we know that you've got to sink some coin into it.
Right.
So, I mean, after you have an idea of what's wrong with the property and perhaps how much it would cost to fix it, then you figure out what your basis is right now, what your value is now, and then you can make those decisions. But an appraisal on that property is going to be very difficult anyway, because there's no comps. You know,
No.
there's no comparables. The average place doesn't sell a town hall every day. So it would have to be determined by other commercial uses or other potentially residential uses. There's too many variables to spend $1,500 on an appraisal at this point. With all respect to all appraisals who may be listening.
I would agree. I would think the first thing to do is look into an evaluation by a contractor or someone who can look at it and say what is wrong with the building, and provide a list of what is needed to repair the building to a state that we can sell, and then we could get prices based on that.
I would also like to know what it would cost to possibly tear it down.
A demolition cost,
Yeah.
I think, would be something.
So we're comparing some
considering
things.
as well.
Yeah.
If we're considering all the options, you have to look at that as well.
So we're going to go with both of those then, both a general contractor to see what's wrong with the building and to see what it would cost to have it
I guess that'd be a
demolished?
commercial inspector that we would get out
Yeah,
there.
I can discuss that with Director Myers.
So we want to push it out to the work session meeting then?
Oh, this is a months-long
This,
project.
yeah, well, this will just be a continuing
Okay. We'll keep it going then.
discussion.
But is there any vote that needs to be done?
I don't think
Any
today.
approval?
Not to muddy the waters anymore, but than I have.
Oh, why not?
But, you know, if we're thinking about a historical relevance to the property and the desire to keep the facade for architectural purposes, I have seen, pardon me, I have seen situations where they restore and maintain the facade of the building, and then, incorporating that with the Memorial Park might be a beautiful idea for the town if we, again, maintain the facade and then somehow incorporate the Memorial Park, use that entrance as a gateway to the Memorial Park. That might be a nice idea, that park, we can kind of do two things, achieve two goals that way. So.
It's really
Sorry.
something to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wayne.
All right, to be continued.
Any new business? Any other new business?
Well, I did have one thing.
Okay.
It's not on the list, but I was talking with Wayne about trees, and there's an issue with trees both in town and at Atlee Ridge. Specifically with Atlee Ridge, the walking path and throughout the town, there are so many trees that have died down there, and I think a lot of things have gone on. One thing was there was a badger that was going around the trees on the walking path and really destroying a lot of the trees there. There was also an issue with the fungus that got infested a lot of the trees down there. And that's also a flood zone down there with Little Pipe Creek there. Whenever that overflows, all those trees are...
I saw your photo. That's was
Yeah.
the first thing that came to my mind. That first photo. The second photo I was certain was emerald ash borers, and there's just nothing that can be done about those. They're killing trees all the way across, not only Maryland, but the country.
Right, but the point is, I mean, if you go through the walking path down there, I would say at least a quarter of the trees there are dead.
Right.
And that's kind of an issue, I feel, that needs to be looked at. Also, there's a tree on Manning Lane that is dead and hanging over top of all the wires, and there's already a limb dangling from it, and, if it's hit by lightning or anything, that can really wreak havoc on the power lines that are right there. And that's right in the middle of town. So that's kind of something that needs to be addressed as well.
Is that something that we could address with Potomac Edison? Maybe they would
Yeah, I
participate
wasn't
in?
sure how, what we go forward with that, because Wayne was actually the one that brought that to my attention, because he was picking up yard waste and at the top of the alley, and I could see he was stopped up there, and he was calling, I guess, Potomac Electric to see about that. So that's one of the trees that's really in kind of bad shape and needs to be worked on. But then Atlee Ridge, also throughout the town, there are trees that have died that I think are on the town property there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe from between the
It was
sidewalk
unclear
and
from
the
the
street.
pictures, but I would,
Yeah.
we could find out for sure, I'm sure.
Well, and Wayne, I don't know if he's still on, but he was thinking that perhaps, we have that new water issue that we're dealing with, where they're going to be doing landscaping around it, that possibly extra trees could be ordered along with that could maybe be used
They're
to...
finished up there. With all
Oh,
the-
are they finished?
Yeah, I think they're finished with all the landscaping up there.
I'm not talking about
Yeah.
the park, I'm talking about the new watershed or what, that we had.
Councilwoman Lindeman's talking about the stormwater project, the potential stormwater project at Gear Lane at the Public Works facility. So my suggestion was maybe to see if the county during that project could plant us some other trees back in the walking trail to take place of the ones that are now dead.
Was that property down there under any kind of management or whatnot?
Yes, so it's a tree conservation area. So it is, if I recall correctly, I believe that the majority of the trees were planted there when the new fire hall was constructed, because they had to plant so many trees because of the footprint of the building. I think it's a state requirement. But anyway, the county's always looking to do some kind of tree projects or stormwater buffers or what have you. So I'm sure they'd be interested if we decided that we would want to replace some of those trees. I think the county would probably help us out with that.
So Wayne, who would need to follow up on that?
The county has what?
So I could follow up on that. I guess it's really trying to figure out whether or not we're going to do the project on Gear Lane to get a sense of direction, and then we could talk to Janet O'Mara with the county and see if we could try to get some extra trees or maybe do a separate project. But it's just as simple as sending an email off and trying to get an answer.
Forestry law, for every tree you cut down, you have to plant 2. If you develop a property that doesn't have any trees, you still got to plant trees. If you can't do it, if you don't have the ability to do it on the property you're developing, the county has sites for reforestation. If we can reach out to someone at the county, I know who to call there and see, or let them know that we may have space down at, on that trail if that's what we decide to do. But that would just be an option for the butterfly trail area. In terms of the trees in the subdivisions in the right of way, I know that, again, going back in time, probably when the subdivisions were done, that was a county landscape requirement. I think it still is. I'm not sure if they've gotten away from planting them in the right of ways. Speaking from a public works perspective and water and sewer perspective, I'm not a fan of trees in the right of way when you have public water and sewer, because they'll work your way into those water and sewer, guaranteed, no matter of time. But that's just my 2 cents on that.
But before they can be just taken out, there has to be some investigation done, because a lot of those trees are actually on recorded subdivision plats. And to take them out may require, believe it or not, DNR approval, the Department of Natural Resources, and the county may have to approve them, even if they're completely trashing the road, the curb, and the sidewalk. Because I've had that in subdivisions that I've had to deal with, and somebody goes and cuts the tree in front of their house down, and then they get the nasty gram from DNR with fines being threatened and everything else, and it doesn't really matter. It's not, like so many things, it's just not as simple as it should be.
All right. Any other new business?
I can reach out to, I have
Okay.
contacts with the county, I can find out.
Yeah.
What we should do, what the process is.
Yeah, I think we're probably do we need
Old
any more
business.
on the skating?
We already covered
We
this.
covered all business under
we
range
already covered that,
report,
yeah.
so that's done.
I think now
We're going to move on to the residents concerned, and I'll start with Jennifer that was logged on here to Zoom. Where'd she go?
27 total. That's with us.
Is that including
All right, she's no longer on here. We'll go right here to the paper. If you would please just stand when I call your name and speak. Ron Wareheim at 109 Springdale Avenue. How you doing, sir?
My concern is
Stand over here.
loud noise, or music, actually. The concert, I think the mayor attended it, from what I understand, out at the Seasons at Magnolia Mansion. That was very loud. I understand they heard it clear down to the fire department. And it was really loud at my house, because I'm right next door to it. And just doesn't, I have no problem with the people that run it or anything like that. They're fine people. It's just their business. It's all their business involves loud music, it seems like. And I put up with it for a long time, and then the other night when they had the concert, that was it. I'm tired of it. Can't go out and use your backyard hardly on weekends. You can't hear yourself think. You can't hear yourself talk on the phone because of the noise. And I would assume there's some kind of noise ordinance. And on top of that, it's a business nestled in amongst residents, a whole bunch of residents, all up behind in the development behind us, on either side of them. It's just loud, and I'm just like, I don't want them to have to go out of business or anything like that. Just not be so noisy. I don't think that's so difficult to do. I know there's weddings and birthday parties and all that, and people like music. But if people can hear it at the firehouse, they can certainly hear it next door. And if I can hear it inside my house over my television, people can hear it next door.
So it's mainly just the volume of the music?
Yes, I mean, that's the major problem. And it's been going on for like 3-4 years or more. And I just kind of bit my tongue and just kind of went with the flow, but it's just that this concert just kind of put me over the edge, and I've had enough.
Which concert are you speaking of? Last weekend?
I don't know what weekend it was. It was like a Friday night, and it was just louder than way louder than it have to be.
Do you know what time that the music went to?
11 o'clock. Yeah, their website said 10:30, but it went to 11 o'clock. And I will give them credit. Most times when they're doing their weddings and stuff, they cut the music off at 10 o'clock, but they probably could go to 11 by law, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know what the decibel ratings are. I called the sheriff's department one time about that, and they don't have a decibel reading thing anymore. Why, I don't know. But they have no way of doing anything like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr., what's your address?
109.
109.
Yeah.
We have Terry Petrie at 113 Springdale Avenue.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for what you do, your service to the town. It's greatly needed. I sat at this table for 14 years. I know what y'all go through.
You're welcome.
So I want to address also the noise from the ban of the June 25th. We tolerate music in the neighborhood from May through October, every weekend. 2, 3, sometimes 1, you never know.
From Seasons at Magnolia?
Yes. Now, when we had the live band, that took things to another level. The band stage was within 80 feet of my house. So, just like my neighbor Ron, you're sitting there, you have a nice evening. I'd have loved to have the windows open that night, turn the air conditioner off, but couldn't do it. Impossible. So I think we need to look at, I don't know how the permits are issued for this thing. I understand there was a permit issued, but it just, the whole thing needs to be addressed. And I see many of my neighbors out here this evening that are here to support us, from Springdale Village, Blue Ridge Manor. Just kind of had enough.
Okay.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Don't mention anything yet.
We have Jennifer Hadaway, 111 South Springdale Avenue.
Yeah, use this one.
So I'm Jennifer Hadaway. I'm the person who runs Seasons at Magnolia. So I came tonight because we did hear that there were some community members that were taken aback by the concert. The concert is not something that typically Seasons at Magnolia would do. This was an effort to assist a number of businesses to get back on the ground after COVID-19. We ourselves were closed in March, April, May, June, and half of July last year. The business was devastated by COVID-19, along with a lot of vendors that support ours and other businesses like us in Carroll County. The event was not meant to disturb anybody. It was one night out of the year. We've never done anything like it before, and we have no intentions of doing anything like it in the future. We did receive a couple phone calls from some of the neighbors. We answer the calls when people call. We address it the best that we can. It was something that we felt was community supportive at the time, never intending to harm anyone. We invited the entire community. I even went door to door myself personally and knocked on doors to let people know. I did not reach everybody because the hours of the 2 days that I did that, not everybody was home, and I understand that. The goal in going door to door was to let people know what was going to be happening Friday night, because we knew that it was going to be loud just because of the nature of what it was, just like at a carnival when there's a live band, because it was a live band. Again, it wasn't our intention or even the band's intention to disturb anybody. The website said 10:30 with the possibility of a light show from 10:30 to 11. The weather permitted that. There were a lot of locals at that event. A lot of people from New Windsor came to that event. We offered free tickets to people from New Windsor. And when I say tickets, Seasons at Magnolia did not profit from the event. This was not about us making money. It was about us supporting businesses. So having people come in, offering them free food with the vendors that were there, that was us putting money out. The mayor was there. He can probably, though he probably shouldn't, he can probably attest to what we did for the community and for the businesses that were there being supported that night. It was never intended to be something that would disturb any of the families like it did. And we're sorry for that, and I genuinely mean that. As far as the weddings, when we came there, the business was in terrible disrepair. That mansion is actually something that's featured in our historic museum here in New Windsor. My own daughter volunteered at the Historic Museum in New Windsor. We renovated and restored that place, putting almost $100,000 of our own cash money, we never took out a loan, to bring that place back up to what it is today. It needed it, it deserved it, and we restored it. We brought it back to life. We do host weddings there. We've hosted 31 weddings of residents of the town of New Windsor. So the 21776 zip code has come to that venue multiple times. Some of you residents have been there for different events. We support the National Night Owl. We host there. We support the police department. We host there. The county health department. We support them there. So we've even had weddings of somebody sitting right here in this room on this council there. So what we do is we give back as much as we possibly can to the community. We do answer the calls. We do end at 10 o'clock. We have never exceeded the decibel level. That night was difficult. That night took everything right to the edge of the limits, and we knew that was going to happen, and that's why we went out. That's why we went and talked to our neighbors when we could. Some didn't. We're not home, and we understand that, and that might have been some of you. We also posted on Facebook. We did as much as we could to let the community know. And we answered the phone. So if you were one of the people that called, we received 2 calls that night. I answered that call. And we talked to you, and we told you what was happening, and we explained it. And it was not intended to cause the unrest that it caused, and we are sorry for that. Ending at 10 o'clock is something that we feel is somewhat of a compromise. When we first came there, we ended at 10:30. We felt that was a compromise, but then we heard from some of our community members, and we backed it down to 10 o'clock. So when we have been approached, we've responded, and we've offered solutions, and we've listened to the community's requests, and we've met in the middle. But sometimes people don't contact us, and they get upset, and then they get riled up, and then they come and they make complaints, but we have to find solutions. So we're willing to find solutions. We're willing to have that dialogue. But we're also a business right now that was impacted gravely by COVID-19, as were all the others. And even though we're having our own struggles, we're reaching out to help other people too. And it's not just local businesses, it's community members too. We hosted the free Easter event. It's our 5th year in a row. We saw over 100 children, families. They came, they went, they found Easter eggs all over our property. 7,000 Easter eggs all over our property with kids running around everywhere with their families. Free Easter bunny visits, free baskets. During COVID-19, we took the Easter bunny to all the houses that would have come to the Easter egg hunt. We made little baskets for them with safe things in the baskets. We took into account food allergies. We asked the families what their children wanted, how old they were. We took the Easter bunny to every single door of all those houses for free during COVID-19. We made special requests that the Easter bunny be given an essential worker permit, and we received that from the state. So we feel like we're willing to help, we're willing to communicate, we're willing to open the dialogue. We just need people to work with us and not be angry, just be productive in that communication. And we're willing to do it back. I have nothing more.
Thank you. We have a couple people on Zoom with their hands up, so, one just disappeared. We're going to go ahead and start with Kathy McGee.
Hi, I'm backing up to...
Kathy, could I have your address?
Oh, sorry, 3223 Atley Ridge Road. I just wanted to back up to the holiday decorations. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been here for 15 years, and look, I love the wreaths. I get that they're probably getting beat up now, but the charm of those wreaths in our town is something that you can't replace. I get that they're beat up. We need to replace them. I just wonder if we can't involve the community in making a decision on the replacement. I think it would go a long way. And the other thing is, with the cost of $25,000, I would expect and hope that we could get 3 quotes from separate vendors on that. Maybe it does cost $25,000 for 40 wreaths, or 40 snowflakes. But I have a hard time believing that there's only one price. So I would just appreciate if you guys would, take into consideration some alternate vendors. Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. There was one more question. Put your hand up if you have another question, please. There was, that seems to be it. Anyone in the audience?
Yeah.
Okay. Your name and address, please.
I'm Robert Dixon. I live at 304 High Street. Here's my
Bob.
Is it loud enough?
Could I have your address again, sir? Could I have your address again?
My address is 304 High Street.
Thank you.
And I'm just echoing what Ms. McGee said, and also add that I go through Tawnytown, and their decoration for Christmas is a snowflake. It's about this big, It doesn't cut it, in my opinion.
What would you like to see? The wreaths?
I like the wreaths.
Everybody's a critic.
Somehow I like the wreaths. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We had discussed possibly putting out maybe something on Facebook where people could vote on what they wanted, so perhaps that's something we need to maybe look into. That
Sounds like an idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
More prices, get some more ideas.
Some quotes on the wreaths too would help.
Poll. Anyone else in the audience? Any other announcements?
I guess just a quick announcement. I forgot to mention the Ocean City Conference. The mayor and I did go to the Maryland Municipality League Conference. It was actually my first time there. It was very interesting to learn. They give you meetings on how to conduct town business, just things from putting a budget together that, coming from the outside, you don't really understand. One of the things I did want to highlight, though, was this year's MML president was our next door neighbor, Mayor Perry Jones. So it was an honor to see him there. He gave speeches. It was just a great thing. So that's that.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
One thing.
Go ahead.
Ecology Services.
Oh, yeah. Did I miss it? Where did I miss it at?
No, that's just my note.
Okay, go ahead.
Ecology Services contract ended Tuesday, June 29th, and as many of you know, they proceeded to remove not only all of their recycle bins, but some of the ones that weren't even marked, that were some of your own private ones. Town staff was completely unaware that this was going to happen. It has not happened, to my knowledge, when previous vendor contracts expired. So nonetheless, if the mayor and council are interested in sending a letter to the president, I have one drafted.
I would love for you
It was
too.
a nice letter.
I would love for you too.
It was very polite.
It was very
but,
well done.
Yeah.
Stating our point, I don't know if it's going to achieve anything, but
It's the fact
on
of the matter.
record, and it'll at least make us feel a little bit better. It was not appreciated on my part. Obviously, you all didn't know what was going on. You come home, you're recycle's gone, your own personal bins are gone, and you're calling in here and no problem blowing up the phones. And I called and talked to Ecology, and I didn't talk to the president, of course, but I talked to someone there, and I asked, is this standard procedure to remove the bins? And she's like, yes. And I said, well, a phone call or a heads up would have been really nice. But and I asked her who to address the letter to, and she didn't know at first. And I said, well, who's the president? And she told me it's Tim Osborne, who I have his contact information because I sent letters out during their contract, which, as you all probably know, we weren't really satisfied with them. So, if you all
I agree with it. Yes.
I sent you the letter. If you look it over, let me know, and I'll.
Has everyone seen the letter?
I'll send it out. You can let me know.
Everybody seen the letter? Send it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gary, on a related note, if you could just remind, people can hear, just remind folks what they're supposed to do to get their new bin, because I've heard a couple of folks seem to be confused about that.
Yeah, there's Kalina developed a real brief, just sign up, this sign, you put your name, address, and request the toter.
Yeah,
it's in the newsletter, it's on the website.
And it's
I
on
believe
Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, there's 3 different ways you could get it. It's not a fillable form, so if you don't use the one in the newsletter, you need to print one of the online versions. But we have a contract where we paid for a specific number of bins. We don't want to just, say, as many bins as, people want, because, we have a set number of households, and we built some growth in for some of the new houses that are being built. So, everybody that wants one needs to go ahead and fill out that form and submit it. And you can call the town hall, and Kalina can talk you through it if you have any questions about that.
I have a couple questions here on chat first. It goes on to,
yes.
It says, so is it decided that Magnolia will never receive another permit for a concert again? No, we haven't made such decision.
I don't know anything about this, Michelle.
I don't either, frankly. I got the email that there was a complaint. I have asked to see the file. Now, I've heard from a lot of people. I already have more information. Permits for concerts, if there is such a thing, we don't have anything to do with those.
Right.
So I think that the town, at this point, my suggestion is that we've obviously seen the concern, we've heard the response to the concern. I have the original file from when Joan Bradford owned the place, which is the last time you had the facility had any review by us. Let us look at it. Let me look at it. Let's see if the zoning administrator wants to look at it. We definitely I think we all are aware of the situation, and then either probably at the next council meeting, it's probably the better time, to have some kind of report, for want of a better term.
It doesn't really matter if there was a permit or no permit, just how about no more concerts that are so loud it's deafening? How about that? Weddings were fine. These people are great. They're my friends. So that's why I didn't get up and talk.
Mm-hmm.
They're wonderful people. But you do not know unless you were there. June 25th, you were there.
I was there, yes.
So you had to hear it.
I heard it. I mean, when it comes to live music, sometimes there's a limit, right?
As much as anybody in this room, maybe more so.
Mhm.
I'm into loud music. That was
beyond loud.
That was beyond. And
My-
if you were there.
I was there, yes.
I was just going to say, my point is, at this juncture, let's look at what the legal position is, what everybody's status is. You don't have any plans to do this again between now and our next council meeting, at least, or maybe ever.
That's all we have to hear. Then we don't want any fines put on them, nothing like that. But let's just say, how about no more concerts of that accord?
Well, it sounds like the owner has sworn off concerts from what we're hearing this evening.
That's the sense, but I'm not in a position to do that, and the town really is not in a position to make any decisions at this point.
I lived there for 45 years, and all of a sudden there's a bed and breakfast next to me.
Well, that's what Michelle's going to look at.
It shouldn't have been a business there in the first place. It's there now. Can't help that. But it
They do a lot of good for people, like they said. Those two people are wonderful. I love
Otherwise,
them
you have
both.
to shutter our doors when all the noise.
But June 25th, we had no idea it was going to be so loud that the fire department even had their doors shut. It was so loud. So.
I heard about it from other people. I was not in town that day, but I heard about it, so I believe you.
All right.
We'll look at it.
Once they
We're gonna-
started
we're-
it, they
They'll
couldn't
look
tell
at it.
everybody
We'll
to
all look
stop.
at it.
Right,
Can't
right.
Any resolutions at this point. 'cause I don't-
All right, I have one more resident question. He understands that there's a, guys, I understand that there's an option of a 35-gallon container as well as a 65-gallon one for the recycling?
That was what Councilman Hoffman
Okay.
brought up at the last meeting. And from what I heard, I thought we could.
No, I think.
I came in here Monday or Tuesday and requested that the fact it was a young man at the desk said, there's only one option, 65 gallon. So I went out and bought my own thinking that's the right.
The contract that was approved by the council was for 65-gallon totes.
Right.
For use.
Okay, so it's only the 65 gallons?
There was this brief discussion of, in the event that someone, an elderly person or someone who is struggling with the larger container on a case-by-case basis, we would address that at a later point after we get the 35 gallons or the 65 gallons out.
I've got to add that for the people in Springdale Village, you couldn't put that in the garage and make your car in there.
Right. No, does anyone have anything?
And on that note, if you have your own container, a previous container, I've heard from some residents that still have the old used recycle bin from when they had the contract. As long as you have a container that's marked recyclable, Hughes will pick it up.
Okay, perfect. Does that answer your question, Richard? He's probably not here. Let's see if he's still here. Does anyone have anything else? For what? Yeah, the motion to adjourn at 8:43.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys online.
So,